Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning meditation. Thank you for being here with me today. We have some interesting things going on this week. I know that um, I am personally a noticer of when um, we have a full moon and things get a little excitable for people during this time. You may have heard police officers talking about it or any kind of first responders will tell you, people who work in hospitals, anybody will tell you that yes, there's a noticeable difference when there's a full moon. I mean, our bodies are mostly water. So when our tides change with the cycle of the moon and gravity and so forth, why would we think that our it doesn't affect our bodies and our what's happening inside our brains and nervous systems and all of that? So it's very much known, even for the people who don't believe it, do not think that that is true at all. I think I think the evidence is contrary to that lack of belief. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. But my point being that this week is this week contains several major holidays across our planet. So there's lots of observance going on this week. This is Holy Week for Christians. Yesterday was Palm Sunday. This is Holy Monday. We've got Maundy Thursday and Good Friday and the whole lot this week, Easter on Sunday. Ramadan is going on in the Muslim observation this week and goes through mid-April. I had to write these down. There are so many. Passover in the Jewish tradition is Wednesday to Thursday this week. It this week celebrates the Hindu New Year, and in Buddhism, there is usually some kind of observance around a full moon. So there's a lot of gatherings and acknowledgement and observations this week. Plus, we have the full moon. Easter is always a time when new energy comes in. We can see why. There's just a lot of energy. I'm going to get kind of woo-woo here. Just have to hang in there with me. But there's a lot of energy in the air. And what can happen with that, I mean, that energy is a good thing, right? But it depends on how we're using it. And we can use that energy to lift ourselves up, to celebrate, to get things done, to go within. There's lots of things we can do with that energy. And whenever there's revved up energy, there's a possibility for letting our emotions run with us instead of being in our center. And I notice it within myself. I notice it as I'm observing people around me in my work, not in my work, just people in general, being able to notice that difference during these extra big times of just energy happening on the planet. And our meditation time is a tool. I say this all the time, so forgive me for repeating myself, but I will continue to repeat myself. Our meditation is that tool, that exercise to help us manage those emotions, to help us direct that energy as it's flowing through us, whether it's a full moon or a celebration or just something happening in our own personal lives that has a lot of charge for us. It allows us that meditation and that practicing the skill of being present with our emotions, being present with our thoughts, being present with our body sensations, the energy that's moving in and through us in our nervous systems during meditation, all of that affects us, and our meditation helps build that muscle of not jumping into emotions, not jumping into sensations, because our emotions and our sensations may be sensing something, but our emotions and sensations are not going to interpret properly what that energy is trying to do, what it's trying to show us, how it's trying to help us move, how it's trying to help us not move during times of big energy. You know, we can think of it more concretely maybe when we're talking with somebody who is emotional. And when we're talking with somebody who's emotional, there may be part of you that feels like, okay, I just need to watch them right now because I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know where they're coming from with this. I just need to listen and then I can act accordingly. Or other times, maybe you don't do this, but we can certainly see when one person is emotional, it can make another person emotional also. That then emotion is reacting to emotion, and then it just spins. It just spins because nobody is in their rational part of their mind, their brain at that time. And so things kind of swirl in ways that maybe aren't so constructive. But when we can step back from that emotion, feel it, see it, and just watch and wait for that inner knowing of what needs to happen, which may be nothing at all. It may be just say, nope, we're just going to watch this. We're just going to watch the storm go by and not do anything. And I would say, I'm going to be generous and say 80% of the time, probably closer to 90 or 95% of the time, we don't want to do anything in that situation. When there's a hurricane here in Florida, we don't want to go out and run in the middle of it. We want to step back. You know, we can see that in our weather. If there's a storm outside, we go within. Mooji, whom I've mentioned before, meditation, beautiful spiritual teacher in Portugal, he calls it mindstorm. When that emotional turmoil, upheaval is happening inside, when there's a mindstorm, our meditation time helps us step back and just watch until it passes, which it will. It always does. It will pass, and then we can make our decision. And oh, I don't have it next to me. In Jane Hart's Spiritual Power Tools book, she has a spiritual thermometer, which I've also talked about several times in our Monday morning meditations. And this is a thermometer that shows, you know, 0 to 10, our emotional state, right? And so a 5 is when we're neutral. Anything below a 5, when we're measuring how we're feeling, anything below a 5 is when we're in our emotions. And our emotions can be excited, excitable. Our emotions can be more, we call them negative emotions. They're not, but they're emotions, you know, sadness, grief, anger, fear, all of those emotions when we're below that 5, we're experiencing. And above a 5 is our clear think. It's our higher state, our rational mind, yes, but that intuitive sense too as we move up that thermometer. And when we're below a 5, she says, do not take action. When our emotions are swirling around, do not take action. That's a time to focus on your breath, go for a walk, journal, breathe, breathe, use a mantra to keep your mind busy because when we feel that emotion, our mind starts going, our mind wants to do something with it, our brain wants to do something with that turmoil. And when we focus and say, nope, I'm not going to do anything. I know the mind storm over here is activating and it's stirring up everything in our emotions, but I'm just going to stay here in my center and let it rip. Just let the storm go and let it have its wave of coming and going. And then once it's gone, then we know, okay, now it's the calm after the storm. And maybe I'm getting direction now, maybe I'm not, but at least I'm not acting in the middle of that storm. So, this is what our meditation time, how it benefits us, and how it is so important for our peace, not just because we feel good when we meditate, but because we're building a very, very, very important skill that belongs to us, that we are innately designed to build. Whether we do or not is a different story, but it's within us to build and to breathe into and have as part of our options when things get stirred up, and to have it part of us when things are peaceful. And so we don't have to, we can be okay in the peace and not have to stir things up because we're looking for entertainment or busyness, right? So, one of the ways that we work on this in our Monday morning meditations is, of course, watching our breath. And that's something we will continue to do because it's so valuable. It is valuable physiologically. It activates the vagus nerves. It calms the body. It um, relaxes our mind. And it just ignites, initiates a calming of the whole mind body system physiologically. It gives our mind psychologically, that watching the breath gives the mind something to do, something to chew on, so that, it's hard to watch our breath and be very present with our breath and think about what's happening in the mind storm while we're at it. So that's such a beautiful tool. If the breath isn't something that works for you, you can use a mantra. Give the mind one thing, one thing to focus on. You can watch a candle flame. You can use a mantra. Some examples are like, thank you, God, peace be still, everything is okay. Something simple that resonates with you that you can buy into. If don't use everything's going to work out the way I want it to work out. That is not a good mantra to use because things don't work out the way we want to all the time. A lot of times they work out just fine, but we don't want to be attached to some outcome. So just something that just says, I'm letting go of the storm. I'm letting go of what's happening right here, right now. And I'm just going to let this pass. I'm just going to let this pass. This too shall pass is another good mantra because it will. That is absolutely the truth. That is the truth. It's always the truth, always has been, always will be the truth that whatever is happening right now will pass. It will pass. It's all okay. So come up with your one thing, and maybe it's different for you every day that you meditate. Maybe sometimes the breath is really helpful, watching your breath. Sometimes a mantra is more helpful. Sometimes listening to music or focusing on the sounds around you. There's lots of options, but in one meditation sitting, find the one thing. Don't jump if you're meditating for 15 minutes, don't jump from, five different things while you're meditating, because that's indulging the mind in wanting to be in charge, right? So we want just one thing. This is what I'm focusing on for this time. I'm going to stick with it. And today we're going to focus on our breath like we usually do, because that is a powerful, powerful practice. And if today the breath isn't working for you, don't listen to me. Just use a mantra. That's okay. Whatever you're doing, it's wonderful that we can be here together doing this today, because that support energetically and presence and just knowing other people are part of this process and part of this time together is magnifies our effort. So thank you for being here, and let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to just take a couple of deep breaths first, filling the belly all the way up to the top of the lungs. And letting it out. Once again, filling the belly all the way up to the top of the lungs and letting it out. And third time's the charm. Let's do it one more time. Filling the belly all the way up to the top of the lungs, and letting it out. And now we just focus on that breath coming into a natural pace. Just making sure the breath is starting at the belly. You don't have to breathe deeply now. We're just letting it be natural, but from the belly instead of the chest. And we're just going to notice what's happening in the body with this breath. You may notice that your breath is a little disjointed still. And that may often be the case when you first sit down to meditate, because our mind and body goes in different directions. Our body is always in the present moment, and our mind is not always in the present moment. So sometimes that breath takes a minute to feel in sync with the body, the mind. That's okay. As you keep breathing from the belly and watching that breath, letting your full attention be on how it's feeling in your body. Feeling the pull on the belly as you breathe in. Feeling that relaxation as you breathe out. Being so aware of it. This observation helps to bring the mind and body into this one present moment in each moment. As you feel your body relax and your mind calming, or at least focusing on that breath, even if your mind is experiencing a mind storm, that's okay. Let the mind storm do whatever it's doing, but your attention is still on the breath. Let the mind storm being in the background, like being in your own home when there's a storm outside. You can hear it, you know it's going on, but you're safe and warm, protected from the storm. It doesn't even matter that the storm is going on outside. You are right here, present and in alignment with your whole self. And the more we can be present with this breath and just let the mind storm be, the more peaceful we feel. It's as if we're using the energy of the storm not to be in the storm, but to be that much more present. And this presence is our home, where we are safe, protected, from all storms. Across our planet this week, there are storms and celebrations, quiet reflections and observances of all types going on. There's just so much energy, energy that we can allow to support our presence every moment of every day, staying out of the storm, being safe and secure within, acting from wisdom or not acting from wisdom. We just take this peace with us throughout the week. If you can continue this practice this morning, I invite you to do so. If you need to go about your day, just take a couple of deep breaths to help shift your mind and body back into action, feeling your feet on the floor, your body in your chair, but taking this presence with you throughout the day, carrying your dry and safe and warm home within you everywhere you go. You can notice the storms, but just watch them pass. And we just hold all the observances and celebrations and even the storms in our space today, just wishing the highest good for all concerned and peace on earth and in the hearts of all. Thank you for being here with me today. Have a wonderful, wonderful week with all that's going on. And I will be with you in holding that inner quiet space in the midst of it all this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye bye.